I was a mute, never having spoken a word since I was born. Before me, my father had 2 daughters, so he dreamed of having a son more than anything. But fate had it that I was born with a twin brother. Amid his joy, there was plenty of frustration. Staring at me, the extra daughter, he frowned and waved for my eldest sister to carry me away at once. Our family was poor, and he tried countless times to send me away, only to be stopped by my mother. By the time I turned 5, I still hadn't uttered a single word. That's when they realized I was a mute. Even my mother stopped protecting me after that. I became a burden in my father's eyes. Once I grew sensible, I did everything I could to work more and eat less, just to avoid his anger. When I was 15, the wealthy Yi family in town was looking for a young woman whose birth chart matched their second young master, who was dying of illness, to hold a wedding and ward off his misfortune. Anyone with eyes could see the young master wouldn't live much longer, and many wealthy families in our town had a secret custom of burying widows with their husbands. Sending a daughter there was tantamount to sending her to her death. But the Yi family was incredibly generous, offering a fortune in silver. So many families with unmarried daughters couldn't resist sneaking over their birth charts. My father was one of them, a simple farmer who'd tilled the land all his life. He'd never seen so much silver. Trading an unwanted daughter for this fortune, it was worth it. My eldest sister was already married, and my second sister could talk and work, far more pleasing to father than I was. So as soon as he heard the Yi family's request, he didn't hesitate to send over my birth chart. And by some strange coincidence, my birth chart was a perfect match for the second young master of the Yi family. The second young master must have been truly on his deathbed. For the Yi family sent messengers to discuss the marriage with my father at once. The messengers gave him the utmost respect. There was a matchmaker, heavy betrothal gifts, a marriage contract, everything. They even offered to carry me to the Yi manor in a sedan chair carried by 8 men. Their only demand: I must be married within 3 days. A country bumpkin like father had never seen such grandeur. He puffed out his chest with delight and agreed eagerly. On my wedding day, it was the first time he'd ever spoken to me with a gentle face. Third girl, raising you has finally been worth something. Today you enter the Yi family's door. Take good care of your husband from now on, and be filial to your parents-in-law. Do you hear me? Don't come back if you can help it. His voice was deliberately low, and it made my skin crawl. I just sat in the sedan chair, head bowed, saying nothing. My second sister, standing by, looked reluctant, while father wasn't looking. She quickly slipped an oil paper packet into my hand. On the way, I opened it. It was the crisp shortbread she loved the most. The pastries were broken into crumbs, yet still warm. I wondered how long she'd clutched them to her chest to hide them from father. I knew she was afraid I'd blame her, but in the face of life and death, who wouldn't be scared? 02. To give me the proper dignity, the Yi family decked the manor with red lanterns and silk streamers. The second young master, Yi Jingji, seemed too ill to get up, so the Yi family had his elder brother, the eldest young master, stand in for him at the wedding ceremony. Good, at least they didn't use a rooster. After the ceremony, I was helped into the bridal chamber. Passing through the courtyard, I secretly tugged at my red veil and peeked out. Outside the bridal chamber, draped in red silk, there stood a huge coffin. My steps faltered, and I let out a soft sigh. It seemed the rumors were true. This coffin was big enough for 2 people. Stepping into the bridal chamber, I was guided to sit on the edge of the bed. The people around me all bowed toward the back of the room. Second young master. I tilted my head slightly. The breathing from behind was faint, yet I could feel the man struggling to prop himself up. Cough, 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 all of you. Leave. The door closed, and the world fell silent in an instant. My veil was suddenly lifted, and a pale, gentle face appeared before my eyes. I froze where I sat. Before I could react, he handed me a bundle from beside his pillow. Miss, cough, I never wanted to marry you. I don't want to kill an innocent person because of me. Take this money and run, quickly. I've already arranged for someone to meet you at the back gate. I didn't move, just sat there and stared at him quietly. Miss, I came to my senses and shook my head at him. He grew anxious, and a fit of violent coughing seized him before he could speak another word. I hurried to support him, patting his back to soothe his breathing. A mouthful of blood suddenly spurted from his lips. I stood up abruptly, about to call for help. He fumbled to grab the hem of my dress. "I'm fine, don't call anyone. Can you pour me a glass of water?" After drinking the water, he seemed to recover a little, and smiled apologetically at me. "I'm sorry you had to see that. I know my own body better than anyone. I never should have doomed an innocent girl like you. But I never thought my parents would be so stubborn. I apologize to you on their behalf, miss. Rest assured, once you leave today, I'll take care of everything. I'll never let you or your family be implicated." I shook my head again, stepping forward to help him lie down, tucking the quilt gently around him. He looked confused, pointing to his throat. "Miss, can you not speak?" I nodded, then, under his puzzled gaze, stood up and walked behind the screen. I splashed some water on my face to clean up, then blew out the oil lamp at once and lay down on the low couch by the window. Seeing this, he said no more. In the darkness, only our breathing could be heard, but I tossed and turned on the couch, my stomach growling. Since morning, the only thing I'd eaten was the crumbly shortbread my second sister had given me. I hadn't had a single bite of anything else. I was so hungry. I closed my eyes, trying to fall asleep, telling myself sleep would take the hunger away. After a while, there was a soft rustle from the bed. Jingji seemed to be getting up. Was he going to the privy? Should I get up to attend to him? As I wondered, I heard a soft thud beside the couch, as if something had been set down. I opened my eyes abruptly. A figure was turning back toward the bed. I reached out and touched it. It was a plate of pastries. Hesitating for a moment, I picked up a pastry and took a small bite. It was sweet, soft, and fragrant. I'd never tasted anything so delicious in my life. Being rich was truly wonderful. I devoured the entire plate of pastries, then lay back down when I heard no more movement from Jingji. He must have fallen asleep. I was just about to close my eyes when I heard Jingji let out a soft sigh. "Miss, if you won't leave, then so be it. Call it my greed, I suppose. Rest assured I will protect you for as long as I live. Even if I die soon, I'll arrange everything for you. I'll never let you be implicated. You will live to be 100 years old." The words slipped out of my mouth before I could stop them. "What?" Startled by the sound of my voice, he propped himself up abruptly in the bed. "Miss, did you just speak?" The room remained silent, no answer coming. After a long while, he slowly lay back down. I raised my hand and touched my throat, closing my eyes gently. "Jingji, you will live to be 100 years old." This was the first time I'd ever let a little selfishness creep into my heart. No one knew I wasn't unable to speak. I was forbidden to, because every wish I spoke aloud would come true. But this gift came with a terrible price. I'd been emotionally cold since I was a child, and no one had ever truly cared about my wishes or feelings. So no matter how cruelly my parents treated me, I felt nothing at all. That's why when I learned that marrying into the Yi family would repay my father's kindness in raising me, I agreed without hesitation. Life and death were just fate, as far as I was concerned. But now, suddenly, I thought marrying Jingji might not be such a bad thing after all. 03. The next day, I got up very early. Hearing the movement, Jingji opened his eyes and looked at me. "Can you help me up?" The maids outside heard us and knocked on the door, then came in with a basin of water. Their faces were filled with surprise when they saw the second young master sitting on the edge of the bed. After we washed up, I was about to go out to pay my respects to my parents-in-law with tea, when the man behind me called out, "Xianxia, let's go together." Xianxia, he knew my name, thanks to my younger brother. I hadn't been given a random name like Xiao Chun, Little Spring, or Hua, Second Flower, like my elder sisters. My name was Xianxia. To give his son a good name, father had spent money to hire a scholar from town. The scholar named my brother Xianli. Perhaps because he knew my brother and I were twins, he'd tossed in Xianxia for me as an afterthought, and that's how I got the name Xianxia. He must have seen my birth chart, I thought to myself, when I didn't move for a long time. He had to call a servant boy from outside to help him out of bed. Seeing this, I had no choice but to step forward and support him. Along the way, every servant who passed us looked astonished. and that astonishment lasted all the way until we reached my parents-in-law's courtyard. My mother-in-law had been the legitimate daughter of an official family. After marrying into the Yi family, her life had been smooth sailing, filled with love and favor, until she gave birth to a sickly son. No one's life could be perfect forever. She'd shed all her tears over this son, who might die at any moment. Before we even entered the courtyard, a beautiful middle-aged woman hurried out to meet us. She rushed to Yi Jingji's side, her face filled with anxiety. "Jingji, I told you to rest more in your room, why did you come out?" Yi Jingji smiled softly, took my hand, and bowed to the woman and the middle-aged man standing behind her. "Mother, don't worry, I already feel much better. I'm sorry to have worried you and father." "Xianxia, this is father and mother." I came to my senses and quickly bowed to my parents-in-law. My mother-in-law finally snapped out of her anxiety, stepping forward excitedly to grasp my hands. "Good girl. Marrying you was the best decision we ever made." Jingji can even get out of bed now. No one had ever been so warm to me before. For a moment, I was flustered and at a loss. "Madam," my father-in-law's voice cut through her excitement, tinged with helplessness. Right, the meeting gift, I completely forgot." My mother-in-law hurried to turn around and handed me a box from behind her. "Xianxia, this jade bracelet was a gift from my mother-in-law when I married into the Yi family. Now I give it to you." I glanced at Yi Jingji beside me, and he nodded slightly at me. I took the bracelet and immediately bowed to express my thanks. Next, my father-in-law handed me a wooden box. "Child, these are the land deeds to several shops in the south of the city. As long as you and Jingji live well, the Yi family will never treat you badly." The gift was too generous. I hesitated, afraid to take it, but Yi Jingji beside me reached out and took it. "Then your son thanks father on Xianxia's behalf." I quickly bowed with him. Father-in-law nodded at me, then his gaze turned to Yi Jingji, his face brimming with joy. "Sit down and eat first. There's trouble with the shops in Jiangnan. Your elder brother left at dawn to deal with it. He'll come to meet you when he returns. He'll be over the moon to hear your health is improving." 03. Breakfast at the Yi family was a feast. There was thick, creamy congee, fragrant meat buns, and all kinds of pastries I'd never seen before. At home, I could only eat a bowl of thin porridge with barely any rice or a hard steamed bun. The occasional egg or meat bun was always for father and my brother. So even though I tried to restrain myself, I couldn't help swallowing hard. Yi Jingji beside me picked up a bun for me with his own hands. "Try this bun, it has bamboo shoot dice, pork, and chicken. It's delicious." I took it and bit into it without hesitation. The juicy filling burst in my mouth, rich with meaty flavor. I squinted my eyes in contentment. No wonder father and my brother loved these so much. After I'd eaten 3 buns, 2 pumpkin cakes, 3 milk cakes, and a bowl of congee, Yi Jingji spoke to stop me. "Xianxia, don't eat too much for breakfast. These pastries are heavy and will upset your stomach. If you like them, I'll tell the kitchen to make them for you often." I came to my senses and quickly put down my chopsticks. Glancing around a little shyly, Yi Jingji looked at me with a smile, his expression calm, but my parents-in-law looked a little surprised. Oh no, they must think I was reincarnated from a starving ghost, compared to Yi Jingji, who'd only had half a bowl of congee and a small piece of pastry. I'd indeed eaten a lot, but he'd eaten far too little. Father and my brother always ate 3 or 4 big steamed buns each. If the family hadn't been poor, they could have easily eaten 10 more meat buns. Yet when I looked at my parents-in-law across the table, their eyes were full of joy, no trace of disapproval. I had no choice but to lower my head. How strange. After breakfast, Yi Jingji looked a little tired. Mother-in-law hurried to tell me to accompany him back to his room. This trip had clearly drained a lot of his energy. Back in the room, he lay on the bed with his eyes closed, breathing slightly heavily. I thought for a moment, then turned and went to the kitchen. Inside the kitchen, a group of chattering maids huddled together. "Heard the second young master can get out of bed now." Really, could it be his last gasp? I saw it with my own eyes. It's true. This morning, the second young master accompanied the new young mistress to pay respects to the master and madam. His face looked much rosier. I say, this wedding to ward off misfortune really works. You can't be sure. The second young master has had this sickness since he was in his mother's womb. We've seen so many doctors over the years, all saying it's incurable. If a wedding could cure him, why didn't we do it earlier? Who'd be willing to send their daughter here to be a widow? Besides, they had to find someone with a matching birth chart. My mother said if the second young master really dies, the young mistress who married him for luck will have to be buried with him. TSK, isn't that murder? Our madam's natal family is the perfect, we have nothing to fear. But I heard this young mistress's family is dirt poor. Her own father practically begged to send her here. Well, if our second young master wasn't sickly, she'd never have a chance with him. If the second young master really gets better, it's such a waste. He's handsome and talented, yet he's stuck with a country bumpkin, a mute one at that. He must be kicking himself. Jealous are you? Then why didn't you marry him? Don't even joke. I don't want to marry a dead man walking. You need to be alive to spend all that money. I stood outside the door, listening to their conversation, my fingers tightening unconsciously around the hem of my dress. Then I pushed the door open and walked in. The chatter inside stopped at once. Hongli, the maid who'd come with me, snapped sharply, "What are you all doing? Daring to gossip about the master and mistress? Do you want to die?" Then she turned to me, her voice softening. "Young mistress, they're still young. Please don't take their words to heart." Okay. I looked up at Hongli, though her tone was questioning. Her posture made it clear she'd already made the decision for me. I glanced around the room. The maids put on respectful faces, but their eyes were full of contempt, exactly the way father looked at me every day, disdain and loathing. Yes, in their eyes, I was just a country mute. If it weren't for my matching birth chart and this wedding to ward off misfortune, I wouldn't even be as good as a kitchen maid in the Yi manor. I ignored her, lifting my feet and walking toward the stove. I'd noticed at breakfast that Yi Jingji had a very poor appetite. Eating so little, how could his body get better? It didn't matter. I was the best at cooking. Ever since I'd grown sensible, I'd cooked all the meals at home. When mother was sick, she'd only eat the rice soup I made. Yi Jingji was far too thin. I had to find a way to fatten him up. I busied myself in the kitchen all morning. When the maids saw I had no intention of reporting them, they scattered. The bolder ones standing at a distance and staring at me secretly. 2 hours later, I carried the simmered soup and cooked dishes toward the courtyard. Just as I reached the door, Hongli stopped me again. "Young mistress, the second young master's meals are prepared by his personal cooks. Besides, he won't be used to the food you made. You'd better find a place to eat it yourself." Her words were downright rude. I didn't move, just stood there and stared at her quietly. Squeak, the door opened. Yi Jingji looked at me in confusion. "Xianxia, why aren't you coming in?" Before I could react, Hongli cut in hastily. "Second young master, the young mistress didn't like the food we prepared for her and insisted on making her own. She's just about to go eat in the side room." Then she turned to me, her eyes glinting with pride and provocation. I ignored her, just shaking the food in my hands at Yi Jingji. Yi Jingji looked a little surprised, then broke into a knowing smile. "Did you make this for me?" I smiled and nodded, then lifted my feet and walked into the room. "Hongli has overstepped her bounds. Go tell mother, send her out of the manor at once." His gentle yet firm voice came from behind me. I paused for a moment. Was he defending me? This was the first time anyone had defended me. For no reason at all. 04. After arranging the food on the table, I helped Yi Jingji sit down beside it. "Did you put lily bulbs in this soup?" I nodded, pouring him a bowl. "Refreshing and not greasy." "Xianxia, you're an amazing cook." I made a gesture with my hands. "I'm glad you like it." He put down his bowl and asked me, "Xianxia, can you read?" I shook my head. A country girl had no right to learn to read. Even families with a little money only sent their boys to school. "Xianxia, I'll teach you to read and write." At his words, my eyes lit up. Could I really learn to read and write? Perhaps my gaze was too eager. Yi Jingji froze for a moment, then reached out and stroked my head. "From now on, I'll teach you to read, and you teach me sign language. Okay, this way, I'll know why you're happy or sad." "Xianxia, you're the second young mistress of the Yi family. You don't have to endure anything. In this family, no one can bully you." I froze where I stood. Truth be told, I'd never cared about Hongli's behavior from the start. In my life so far, I'd endured far more cold stares and insults than this. I also knew many people in the Yi family looked down on me, especially after seeing Yi Jingji getting better. But so what? They didn't dare scold me, nor drive me away. They couldn't stop me from doing anything. If that was the case, why not just pretend I couldn't hear them, like I always had? Yet now, hearing Yi Jingji's words, I felt my eyes grow unaccountably moist, an uncontrollable emotion rising in my chest. Yi Jingji, I whispered the name silently in my heart. That day, Yi Jingji only ate half of the food I'd prepared, but from the looks of the servants, this seemed like an unbelievable thing. I frowned at the leftover food. He'd coughed up blood on our wedding day. I had to ask the doctor. He couldn't be given too many tonics all at once. In the days that followed, I cooked all kinds of food for Yi Jingji in different ways, and accompanied him on walks. He never had another episode of sickness. Not only did he put on a little weight, his face gradually became rosy and healthy. The coffin that had stood in the courtyard was gone before I knew it. The maids in the Yi family gradually began to envy my good fortune. After mother-in-law heard about what Hongli had done, she called me to her room privately and pressed a box of jewelry and precious stones into my hands. "Xianxia, take all these, see if there's anything you like. If not, I'll take you to buy new ones. Rest assured, with me here, no one in the Yi family will make you suffer any wrong. Jingji's health is still fragile. I'll go with you for the return visit to your natal home. It's all our fault for not thinking it through. We were so focused on Jingji's health that we forgot to arrange your return visit long ago." My eyes widened. A return visit? I'd never thought about going back to my natal home after marrying into the Yi family. I'd had no desire to have any more contact with that family. I'd already repaid the kindness of being raised. There was no need to go back. Besides, it was unheard of for a mother-in-law to accompany her daughter-in-law on a return visit to her natal home. Was that appropriate? Before I could refuse, mother-in-law bustled about making preparations at once. Early on the morning of the return visit, Yi Jingji accompanied me to the gate. "I'm sorry, Xianxia, for making you suffer." I squeezed his hand and shook my head. "Yi Jingji, you never have to apologize to me." Mother-in-law lifted the carriage curtain and teased us. All right, we'll be back by noon. I won't lose your wife." My cheeks flushed bright red in an instant. Yi Jingji clasped my hand in his and nodded at mother-in-law. "Thank you, mother." Father had clearly never expected me to return home alive. When the carriage stopped at the door, the courtyard was empty. I stepped down from the carriage and walked into the yard, and only then did father stumble out of the house, yawning. The moment he saw me, his anger flared up at once. "Third girl, what are you doing back here? You little wretch, did you run away secretly? You're going to kill me. If you're going to die, die outside where no one can see, and don't drag your father down with you." With that, he raised his hand to slap me. "Stop." Mother-in-law, who had followed close behind, hurried to shield me behind her. "Xianxia is now the daughter-in-law of the Yi family. How dare you lay a hand on her?" Father's face turned pale, his hand freezing mid-air. Madam Yi, mother-in-law had been pampered since childhood, and she had never seen a father treat his own daughter so cruelly. Fury burned in her heart, and she made up her mind to stand up for me properly. She did not reply to father at once, but turned to me and smiled gently. "Don't be afraid, Uncle Qin. Bring the things in." Behind us, Steward Qin of the Yi family led the servants in carrying the gifts down from the carriage. Boxes upon boxes of presents were piled up in the small courtyard, and father's face gradually broke into a greedy smile. "Ah, in-laws. It's all a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. This girl is foolish and ignorant. I was only afraid she'd do something shameful and bring disgrace to the Yi family." Mother-in-law smiled faintly. "Xianxia is a wonderful girl. You worry too much. Now that we have paid our return visit, we hope you will keep your promise from that day. From now on, Xianxia is only the wife of the Yi family." Without waiting for father to react, mother-in-law took my hand and turned to leave. "Let's go, daughter, come home with mother." Warmth surged in my heart, and I nodded with red eyes. I knew well that the reason my parents-in-law treated me so well was simply because my arrival had made Yi Jingji's health improve by leaps and bounds, but no matter the reason, they had given me the love and protection I had never known before. For the first time, I realized I could have a real home. 05. After leaving the Gu family, mother-in-law did not take me back to the Yi Manor at once, but led me to the fragrant Full House restaurant, Xianxia. The crab roe tofu here is exquisite. Today, mother and daughter will have a nice meal out. After dinner, mother will take you shopping in the shops, and we'll pick out some nice jewelry and clothes together. You dress far too plainly, my girl. Young maidens should wear bright colors, they suit you better. Before I could refuse, mother-in-law pressed her hand over mine. No arguments. A gift from an elder must be accepted. Be good. I grinned and made a gesture of thanks with my hands. Mother-in-law froze for a moment, then muttered softly to herself, I really must find a good doctor to treat her muteness as soon as possible. What if it can be cured? Such a lovely girl, unable to speak, anyone can bully her like this. But I really need to learn some sign language too, otherwise I'll seem like I'm rambling on and on. My hearing had been sharp since I was a child, and I heard her words, unable to help but feel both amused and touched. It was not that troublesome at all. Over the past few days, I had been learning to read and write with Yi Jingji, and now I could hold simple conversations with pen and paper. So during the meal, I managed to ask the shopkeeper for a brush and paper, wrote a few words, and handed it to mother-in-law. Thank you, mother. Tears welled up in mother-in-law's eyes suddenly. She clasped my hands tightly, her voice choked with emotion. Xianxia, it is I who should thank you, and I also owe you an apology. I was selfish when I insisted on marrying you into the family. This wedding to ward off misfortune was our whole family's last hope. What's more, I could not bear the thought of my son leaving this world alone. I know you must have heard the rumors that the Yi family was not just looking for a bride to bring luck, but also a burial companion for my son. I will not deny it. At first, I did have such a thought. Please forgive a mother's irrationality in the face of losing her child to grief. Xianxia, you are such a kind girl. I have long since abandoned that terrible idea. From now on, even if something should happen to Jingji, you may stay or leave, the Yi family will never object. Jingji is a poor child, yet also an extraordinary one. It was all my fault. I took the wrong medicine when I was pregnant with him, which left him weak and sickly from birth, but he has never blamed anyone for it. If the heavens demand someone to pay for this sin, I hope it falls on me. As long as Jingji can live a healthy life, all these years, he has suffered so much for his treatment. Xianxia, I beg you, as a mother, please make him happy. I can see that you are special to him. Ever since you came to the manor, he has even been eating more. His father and I have never seen him so happy and relaxed before. I blinked, my heart filled with emotion. I realized then that in this world, there were not only fathers like mine, who treated their children as nothing more than a means to gain profit, there were also mothers like mine-in-law, who would give everything unconditionally for their children. No wonder she had raised a man as gentle and warm as jade as Yi Jingji. I nodded, squeezing mother-in-law's hand tightly in return. Just like Yi Jingji's, her hand was warm. By the time we returned to the Yi Manor, the sky was already dark. When I stepped into our room, Yi Jingji was not asleep. He was leaning against the head of the bed, reading a book. At the sight of me, he waved me over. You're back. Did you have a good day today? I walked over, reached out to tuck the quilt around him, and made a gesture. The night air is cold. Be careful not to catch a chill. He looked a little helpless, then smiled and nodded. You're right, I was careless. I'll be more careful next time. I stared at him, and a surge of courage suddenly welled up in my heart. Without hesitation, I stretched out my arms and hugged his waist, resting my head gently on his chest. His body stiffened for a moment, then a pair of warm big hands rested on my shoulders, patting me softly, again and again. It seems my little girl is a little sad today. Did old man Chen, the candy hawker, not set up his stall today? How about this? In a few days, I'll go with you to buy some candied hawthorns, okay? We'll also buy 2 more boxes of chestnut shortbread from the pastry shop in the south of the city. The fresh, hot ones right out of the oven are absolutely delicious. Also, among the land deeds father gave you, I remember there is a manor with a natural hot spring. I'll take you to see it, okay, if you like it. We'll stay there for a few more days. I nestled against his chest, nodding like a spoiled child. Thank you, Yi Jingji. I had always known that it was all because of him, the change in my parents-in-law's attitude toward me, and the sudden shift in the treatment I received from everyone in the Yi manor. Even mother-in-law accompanying me on the return visit to my natal home had been his doing. He had gone to talk to her personally. He was such a gentle and polite man to everyone, yet for my sake, he had personally ordered severe punishment for those who had bullied me openly and secretly. Yet when faced with those who cursed him to die young, he did not care at all. Even more, he feared that he might leave this world suddenly, so he had already arranged all the retreats for me, long in advance. Yi Jingji, how fortunate I, Jiyu Jiqiu, am to be loved so sincerely by you. 06. That night, despite his protests, I insisted on lying beside him on the bed. In the end, he sighed and reached out to pull me into his arms. My face burned bright red, shy to the bone. Yet I did not want to move an inch. Jiqiu, you can't regret this. His voice came from above my head, firm and unyielding. How could I ever regret it? Yi Jingji. I wrapped my arms around his waist, finding the most comfortable position, and the next moment, I felt his body growing hotter and hotter. Was he having a fever? I raised my hand to touch his forehead, but he stopped me abruptly. Jiqiu, don't move. I suddenly understood, and after a moment of hesitation, I blushed and tried to unfasten his robe sash only for him to hold my hands tightly. He panted slightly, his voice growing hoarse. Not yet. I blushed and pulled back a little. He was right, his body was not yet fully recovered. I needed to take better care of his health, to nourish his body more. In the 6 months that followed, Yi Jingji never had another episode of his old illness, aside from being a little more prone to catching colds during the changing of the seasons. He was no different from any ordinary healthy man. Recovered from his sickness, Yi Jingji gradually bloomed with the radiance that was uniquely his. When the people in the city spoke of Yi Jingji now, they no longer referred to him as a sickly man destined to die young. Instead, they called him the elegant, talented second young master of the Yi family. The families with unmarried daughters in the city also began to harbor ulterior motives, in their eyes. My existence was not the slightest bit threatening. A mere mute, how could I be worthy of the title of second young mistress of the Yi family, the wealthiest merchant family in the entire kingdom? In these 6 months, not only had Yi Jingji regained his health, but the Yi family had also risen to become the #1 merchant family in the kingdom. If Yi Jingji had been exceptionally talented since childhood, then his elder brother, Yi Hanji, was a true genius in business. It had been only 3 years since he had taken over the Yi family's business, yet the Yi family had risen from the wealthiest family in the city to the most prosperous merchant family in the entire kingdom. Even father had begun sending me messages repeatedly, trying to marry my second sister into the Yi family as well. It was only natural, compared to my unyielding, uncooperative attitude. My second sister was more obedient, easier to control. But I was no longer the same Jiyu Jiqiu I had been before. The gratitude I owed for being born and raised had long since been repaid on the day I married into the Yi family, and in these 6 months, Yi Jingji had not only taught me to read and write, but also how to manage the family's shops and businesses. I knew that even as his body grew stronger, he had been striving tirelessly to make me a woman who could stand on her own 2 feet. In an era where women could only rely on men for their livelihood, Yi Jingji's thoughts and actions were always astonishingly unconventional. He never asked about the hardships I had endured in my former home. Instead, he lavished me with all the love I had missed in the first half of my life, trying his best to treat me well. Not only that, but he also taught me, step by step, how to love myself, so I could not afford to hold him back. More and more young ladies came to provoke me. Perhaps they thought I could not speak and could not fight back, and with each passing provocation, their words grew more and more insulting. Finally, one day when I went out to inspect the family's shops, I was blocked at the door by Mu Ku, the legitimate daughter of the county magistrate. "You are Jiyu Jiqiu." I looked at her and bowed slightly in a polite greeting. The young lady in front of me let out a cold sneer. "I forgot you're a mute, a country mute at that, looking like a ragged beggar. How dare you think you're worthy of the second young master of the Yi family?" "She doesn't need to ponder that question, because it is I who am not worthy of her." A familiar voice came from behind. Jingji strode over to my side, gently draping a white fur cloak over my shoulders. 07, the weather's cold. You never remember to wear more when you go out. I gave him a reassuring smile, took his hand, and tried to walk home, but he stood rooted to the spot. Xianxia, wait for me. Under my confused gaze, he stepped toward Muku. Young lady, my wife may not speak, but she has never harmed anyone. If she has offended you in any way, you may seek out the Yi family, and we will compensate you for any grievance, no matter the cost. But if someone deliberately bullies her for her muteness, knowing she cannot speak up for herself when wronged, then I, Jingji, will not be the kind man everyone thinks I am. Whoever it is will pay a price for their actions. Furthermore, I have something to say today, and I ask everyone here to bear witness. The Yi family has always had a family motto. Every son of the Yi family may take only one wife in his lifetime, no concubines allowed, and for me, Jingji, no matter what happens in the future, Xianxia will be my only wife. Now and forever. Muku's face flushed with embarrassment and anger. She pointed at me and shouted, Jingji, do you know what you're saying? Her birth status is lower than that of my maid, and you choose her. Before Jingji could speak, I stepped forward and squeezed his hand tightly. Jingji turned to me and smiled softly. At the very least, she is kinder and more capable than you, is she not, young lady? I am sparing your dignity today. I hope you will respect yourself in the future and do not disturb my wife again. His words were unsparing. Even the arrogant Muku could not bear the shame. Her cheeks burned red, she stamped her foot, and fled. I looked at Jingji, my heart filled with worry. After all, commoners should not clash with officials. Jingji flicked my nose gently and smiled. Don't worry, even though the Yi family is a merchant family, we are the imperial merchant. They dare not do anything to us. Look what I bought for you. With that, he pulled a warm roasted sweet potato out of his sleeve. I could not help but laugh and shake my head. Ever since I had secretly roasted one for him once, he had fallen in love with the treat, mentioning it every few days. I took the sweet potato, slowly peeling off the charred skin to reveal the golden, tender flesh inside, then held it up to his mouth. He took a small bite, then tugged at the hem of my dress like a spoiled child. It's not as good as the one my wife roasts. I wish I could eat the sweet potatoes my wife roasts for the rest of my life. Good, the word slipped out before I could stop it. He stared at me in surprise. Xianxia, you spoke again. In the next moment, his face clouded with worry. My wife, promise me you will speak as little as possible from now on, okay? He seemed to know something about my occasional ability to speak. Every time mother-in-law suggested finding a doctor to cure my muteness, he would find some excuse to object. If I so much as had a headache or a cold, he would act as if the sky was falling, yet he never pressed me for the truth, just as he never questioned why his health had miraculously improved ever since I married him. It became our unspoken secret. When the speaker of wishes speaks, her wish shall come true. Jingji, I am willing to burn my life to reignite the flame of yours that was meant to be extinguished long ago, and the price you have already paid it to me, 1,000 times over. Epilogue. That night, we returned home and consummated our marriage. Afterward, he held me in his arms, his eyes filled with longing. Xianxia, do you want to see the world outside? I stared at him in surprise. The world outside. All my life, I have heard my elder brother speak of so many places, the water towns of Jiangnan, where houses are built on the river, the great desert, where you can watch the sunset paint the sky red, the snow-capped mountains, covered in white all year round. I have talked it over with father and mother. All their lives, they never had the chance to leave home. Now that heaven has given me a new life, I want to live it differently. Xianxia, let's go see it all together, with our own eyes. Will you? A new life? Yes, for me, this was also a new life. I nodded without hesitation. Yes, let's go see it all together. Jingji's extra chapter, when I learned mother planned to find a bride for me to ward off misfortune. Even if it meant she would be buried with me when I died, I objected fiercely. But when I saw mother collapse at my feet, weeping uncontrollably, I relented and nodded. If I die, let the girl go. As a son, I could not even filial to my parents. but instead brought them endless worry and toil. How could I bear to drag an innocent girl into this as well? I closed my eyes, unable to hide my self-loathing. All these years, Mother had sought out countless famous doctors for me. But all of them had thrown up their hands in defeat, so they had no choice but to pin their hopes on this futile superstition, a wedding to ward off misfortune. Xianxia, you are truly a sinner. On the day the wedding date was set, I coughed up a great deal of blood. Mother was terrified, even insisting the girl be brought to the manor that very day. I stopped her with all my strength, my eyes filled with entreaty. If I were to die today, at the very least, the girl would be spared. But heaven did not hear my prayer. The girl still came. I had seen her birth chart, Xianxia, a beautiful name. I did not know if she had married me of her own free will, but I could not bring myself to drag her down with me, so I placed all my silver notes by the bed, arranging for someone to meet her at the back gate and help her escape. But she refused to leave. On our wedding night, she was led to sit beside my bed. I reached out and lifted her red veil and saw her eyes, bright and clear like a young deer's. She was just a girl, a mute girl, at that. I handed her the bundle full of silver notes. Miss, I never wanted to marry you. I don't want to kill an innocent person because of me. Take this money and run, quickly. I've already arranged for someone to meet you at the back gate. As I spoke, I could not stop coughing, and a mouthful of blood burst from my lips. This must have frightened her, I thought. She stood up, about to call for help, and I grabbed her at once. Anyone would be afraid to see me like this, surely. But she gently tidied my clothes for me. Then, as if she had not heard a word I said, washed up quietly and lay down on the low couch beside the bed. A selfish thought flashed through my mind. Perhaps she had come of her own free will. Perhaps she was willing to stay with me. Perhaps. Xianxia, you are such a fool. I closed my eyes, scolding myself bitterly in my heart. Before long, I heard her tossing and turning on the couch, unable to sleep. I glanced at the milk cakes on the table beside me. Little girls all loved sweet things like this, did they not? I lay back down, listening to the soft, muffled sound of her eating beside me, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly alive. Miss, if you won't leave, then so be it. Call it my greed, I suppose. Rest assured I will protect you for as long as I live. Even if I die soon, I'll arrange everything for you. I'll never let you be implicated. In the end, I surrendered to my selfish heart. You will live to be 100 years old. In the darkness, her voice was clear and firm. She could speak. I sat up abruptly. But no matter what I said, she did not reply again. In the days that followed, she never spoke another word, not even when others bullied her, not even when they spoke ill of her to her face. I remembered Mother's young cousin from her natal home. She would cry and run to her uncle to complain even if she tripped and fell while walking, let alone being insulted openly by others. An inexplicable anger rose in my chest. How much suffering had she endured in her life, for even a lowly maid to dare treat her with such contempt? Yes, if there had been someone who would stand by her unconditionally, who would protect her no matter what, she would never have been forced to marry a dying man like me. Xianxia, if no one else will love her, then let it be you. Somehow, whether it was the wedding's doing or not, my illness really began to improve. Mother could hardly believe it after all. So many famous doctors had been powerless to help me all these years. My intuition told me this had everything to do with Xianxia. Master Yuanqi of Chenzhen Temple was one of my few close friends. He was a man of great virtue and even greater medical skill. Yet even he had been unable to cure my illness, so when he came to check my pulse again, he was as astonished as everyone else. When I told him about Xianxia, he fell into deep thought. Young friend Xianxia, perhaps this old monk knows the reason. The world is vast, and there are many who possess extraordinary powers, but such powers defy the heavens, and thus, those who wield them are always born with some flaw or infirmity. From what you have told me, this young lady Xianxia is likely a speaker of wishes, because every word she speaks comes true. Most of them are born mute. When the speaker of wishes speaks, her wish shall come true, but this power comes at a terrible cost. A cost? I felt a surge of panic, and asked hastily, Master, do you know what the cost is? Master Xianxia shook his head. This old monk does not know, but to see you recover at such a speed. Her wish must have been made willingly and with all her heart. This true devotion, cherish it well, young friend, Xianxia. I could not help but raise my hand to my chest, whispering her name softly. What have I done to deserve such love from you, Xianxia? The door opened, and the little girl in the emerald green dress walked in, carrying a tray of food. When she saw me, she smiled and winked at me. Tears pricked my eyes unbidden. Yi Jingji, fight to live, live well, live to love her. Live to not betray her true heart, live to become her greatest protector. If she will have you, live to become her true husband, in every way, live to take her to the life she has always deserved.